Hello students, welcome to economics class. Today we are going to discuss about economic reforms in India. In July 1991, India has taken a series of measures to structure the economy and improve the BOP position. The new economic policy introduced changes in several areas. The policy have salient features which are popularly known as LPG, that is liberalization, then privatization and globalization of the economy. Now, this policy of liberalization, L, in place of licensing for the industries and trade. Earlier, the policy was related with LQP, that is licensing, quota and permits. And now the policy has completely changed. This is liberalization, privatization and globalization. Now, one more thing, because of this particular U-turn, the year 1991 is known as a year of economic divide. Now, what is meaning of economic reforms? The term economic reforms broadly indicates necessary structural adjustments to external events. It includes the function of country's spending to the level parallel to its income and thereby reducing fiscal deficit. This requires gradual reduction in import and increase in export. These adjustments also requires market change in order to make economy flexible. Now, new economic policy, popularly known as economic reforms or new economic reforms. New economic policy, this is a new plan in action by the government to influence production and capital formation of a country and popularly known as NEP. It was started in the year 1991. Major effects of NEP were done by P.V. Narasimha and Manmohan Singh. P.V. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister of India at that time and Manmohan Singh was the Finance Minister of India at that time. Now, reasons for implementing NEP. There were poor performance of public sector. Almost all the public sector undertakings were running in losses. We have already discussed this point that in spite of huge investment, public sector undertakings were become a dead social weight, that is white elephant. The scope for private sector was very limited because of the policies of LQP, that is licensing, quota and permission. There was sudden fall in foreign exchange reserve. It was at its lower level, means the foreign exchange reserve reached to the bottom level, that these were not enough to pay for an import bill of even 10 days. And further, there was more expenditure than incoming, that is expenditure of government was very much greater than the incomings, that led to high fiscal deficit. Now, what's about the fiscal deficit? Fiscal deficit refers to the borrowings by the government on account of the excess of its expenditure over revenue during a year. Next, international investors were not encouraged by the government because we were adopting the policy of inward looking. Now, tax rates were very high, so people uh, showed less interest in paying of the taxes. It further led to the problem of low income of the government. Along with these, there was BOP crisis, there was inflationary spiral and poor performance of public sector undertakings. Because of all these reasons, the government had to adopt new economic reforms. Now, main features of economic reforms, there are basically three features. One is the liberalization, second is the privatization, third is the globalization. Now we will discuss one by one. What is liberalization? Free from direct or physical control by the government in the way of trade is known as liberalization. Before 1991, there were many controls of government like industrial licensing system. It was quite rigid process. there was they were controlling the price. Import licensing was also there, and restriction on investment. Now, economic reforms under liberalization. There are four reforms under industrialization. One is the industrial sector reform, second is the financial reform, third is the fiscal reform, and fourth is the external reform. First, we have industrial reform. The very first one, abolition of licensing except some products like liquor, cigarette, defense equipments, industrial explosive, and dangerous chemicals. Contraction to public sector, that is number of items produced by public sector were reduced. Then government gave freedom to import capital goods in order to enhance the production capacity as well as upgrading the technology of the industries. But producers were given freedom to what to produce and how much to produce, means there was expansion of public production capacity, means the policy of permission was abolished so that the production capacity of the industrial units can be increased. Next, we have the financial sector reforms. Financial sector includes banking and non-banking financial institutes, then stock exchange market and foreign exchange market. Earlier, RBI, the role of RBI was a regulator, but now RBI was turned into facilitator. Due to this, there was a dramatical change in banking sector of the country, and it was expanded a lot. It also allowed foreign institutional investment, that is FII, foreign institutional investors, to invest in Indian financial market, for example, merchant bankers, mutual funds and pension funds, etc. Now, one more thing you should keep in your mind, that the commercial banks were given permission to expand their capacity as well as to increase their branches. Then fiscal reforms. Fiscal reforms are related with total revenue and total expenditure of the government. Before liberalization, the taxes were very high and this encouraged tax evasion by the people. After liberalization, taxes were reduced. The procedure for paying taxes was simplified and non-planned expenditure by the government was also reduced. बच्चे, in fiscal reforms we have GST, that is the goods and services tax. This is also very important fiscal sector reform, and we will discuss about this topic later. I will send you a PPT basic entirely based on GST. Now, next topic, this is about the foreign exchange reserves. This is external sector reforms. In this topic we will discuss two topics. One is foreign exchange reserves and second is foreign trade policy. First, in 1991, devaluation of rupee, so by this foreign countries can buy Indian good. This provided good flow of trade. At presently, exchange rate is determined by demand and supply in international market. Devaluation, this is a policy of a government in which the value of domestic currency in international market is reduced in order to fetch more foreign exchange. As I have already told you, that suppose $1 is equal to rupees 70, it means an American can purchase 70 toffees by paying $1. Now suppose the government adopts a policy of devaluation and new foreign exchange rate is $1 is equal to rupees 75. Now with the same dollar, an American can purchase 75 toffees from India. It means the purchasing power of an American has increased in the domestic market. In this way, definitely the Americans will purchase more. It means there will increase in foreign exchange towards the India, that is supply of foreign exchange will increase. Dear students, as we have already discussed that there was a keen shortage of foreign exchange in India. That's why in order to fetch foreign exchange, the policy of devaluation was adopted in 1991. Again, about this policy we will discuss in detail in our macroeconomics, we have a separate chapter in that book, that is foreign exchange. Clear? Next, this is foreign trade policy. Abolition of import licensing except for some cases. In this, quantitative restrictions as well as qualitative restrictions were removed, means tax barriers as well as non-tax barriers were removed. Now, advantages of liberalization. First, industrial licensing was removed, increase the foreign investment, increase the foreign exchange reserves, increase in consumption and control over price, then check on corruption, then reduction in dependence on external commercial borrowings, because now India was able to encourage foreign investment. Next, disadvantages of licensing. Disadvantages of liberalization. First, increase in unemployment, loss to domestic units, increased dependence on foreign nations, unbalanced development, because now India is depending upon MNCs also. There is upgradation of technology, and because of this there may arise the problem of unemployment because of foreign competition, loss of domestic units is there, increased dependence on foreign nation, and unbalanced development. Now, next topic, this is about what is privatization. Privatization is defined as the transfer of function, activity or organization from the public sector to private sector. Two ways for privatization: sale of public sector units to private sector and withdrawal of public sector units, that is from joint sector. Now, objectives of privatization: to increase efficiency and competitive power of the enterprises, to strengthen industrial management, to earn more and more foreign currency, to make optimum use of resources, and to achieve rapid industrial development of the country. Now, measures adopted for privatization. First is contraction of public sector, because most of the public sector undertakings were running in losses. Now, disinvestment. Disinvestment refers to sale of shares of public enterprises, to private sector wholly or partially. This is the process of disinvestment. The policy of disinvestment is particularly adopted for sick industries. Now, disinvestment is a policy instrument to promote privatization. This is very, very important topic. It occurs when the government sells of its shares capital of PSU to the private investor. In this concept, we are to discuss about strategic sale and minority sale. Dear students, keep in your mind, minority sale means when public sector undertaking sells its 49% shares to private sector. On the other hand, when more than 51% shares are sold to private sector, it becomes a strategic sale. In case of minority sale, ownership is not transferred, means authority to control or function is not transferred. But in case of strategic sale, the ownership as well as authority to carry on to function or for working is also transferred. Now, next, this is advantage of privatization. First, there is reduction in economic burden. Next, increase in efficiency because of the reduction in public sector undertakings. Then reduction in sense of irresponsibility. Scientific management, all these are the scientific management is a feature of private sector, because private sector works for efficiency, works for profit maximization. Reduction in political interference. Again, private sector is free from political interference. Encouragement of new inventions, because profit is the main motive in private industries, private sector. That's why scientific management as well as encouragement of new inventions is a very important feature of private industries. Then, disadvantages of privatization. First, industrial sickness, lack of welfare, class struggle, rich people become richer. Increase in inequality, the gap between the richer section and poor section increases. Opposition by employers, problem of financing, increase in unemployment, ignores the weaker section, ignores the national importance. Next, this is about public sector reforms. In this, we will discuss about the Navratnas, Maharatnas, and Mini Ratnas. The reforms introduced to support public sector units and the introduction of some awards like Navratnas, Maharatnas, and Mini Ratnas. Which there is Mini Ratnas are at bottom, followed by Navratnas, and then Maharatnas. Means Maharatnas are at top, Mini Ratnas are in bottom, and Navratnas are in middle. There is a these are the profit running public sector undertakings. Next, this is WTO. The World Trade Organization is a large international organization to regulate trade that was established in 1995. As of 15 December 2005, there were 153 members. No, I think presently there are 196 members in WTO, and WTO is the successor of GATT. This is General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. Now, you have to learn the topic of World Trade Organization properly because this is very, very important. Now, what's about the objectives of WTO? The primary aim of WTO is to implement the new World Trade Agreement, to promote multilateral trade, to promote free trade by abolishing tariff and non-tariff barriers, to enhance competitiveness among all trading partners so as to benefit consumers, to increase the level of production and productivity with a view to increase the level of employment in the world, to expand and utilize world resources in the most optimum manner, to improve the level of living for the global population and speed up economic development of the member nations, to take special steps for the development of countries. Advantages of WTO. This is free trade cuts the cost of living, it gives consumers more choice and a broader range of qualities to choose from. Trade raises income, trade stimulates economic growth, and that can be good news for employment. The basic principles make the system economically more efficient and they cut costs. The system allows disputes to handle constructively. A system based on rules rather than power makes life easier for all. So this is about the advantages of WTO. Now, disadvantages of WTO. The WTO dictates policy, means it is in favor of the developed countries. The WTO is the free trade at any cost. The WTO destroys jobs, worsens poverty. Small countries are powerless in the WTO. Weaker countries are forced to join the WTO. The WTO is the tool of powerful lobbies, means developed countries. Non-tariff barriers are there. Competition, strict or hard competition is there, and due to all these reasons, it is oftenly said that WTO works in favor in the interest of developed nations. Now, what is globalization? It is defined as a process associated with increasing openness, growing economic independence, and deepening economic integration in the world economy. Reduction of trade barriers, free flow of capital, free flow of technology, free movement of people is are the important aspects of globalization. Now, what's about the outsourcing? When we are to discuss about the concept of globalization, it is very, very important to discuss about outsourcing. It is a system of hiring business services from the outside world and it is known as outsourcing. Advantages of outsourcing: easy availability of cheap labor, reasonable degree of skill, vision market, lack of competitive competitors, cheap and abundant availability of raw material, revolutionary growth of IT industry in India. Or because of all these reasons, India has emerged as one of the most important destination for outsourcing. The government policies are also very suitable in India, and further there is sufficient development of infrastructure along with availability of cheap and skilled workforce. That's why India has emerged as a as the best destination for outsourcing. Now, positive effects of globalization: adoption of new and flexible production methods, reconstruction of production and trade patterns, raise of foreign capital, qualitative improvement in the country, rise in the generation of employment, rise in banking and foreign sector of efficiency, increase in the technology. Now, negative effects of globalization: less of domestic industries because we are now focus on global trade, exploits human resources, decline in income, unemployment, transfer of natural resources, lead to commercial and political colonialism, widening gap between rich and the poor, dominance of foreign institutions. Now, positive effects of NEP. In now we will discuss about the critical appraisal of LPG policies. The very first one: impressive increase in growth rate of GDP. There is continuous increase in growth rate. IT industries has achieved global recognition, increase in government revenue, that is increase in national income, increase in foreign exchange reserves. Now we are having a remarkable handsome foreign exchange reserves, flow of private and foreign investment, recognition of India as an emerging power. Now India has become a vibrant economy, shift from monopoly market to competitive market. Monopoly market hampers the interest of the consumers, but competitive markets provide goods at lower price to the consumers. Then decline in poverty because of NEP. Now price level has reduced, or you can say there is price stability. Inflation spiral is now in control, and the result is purchasing in the people are capable to satisfy their requirement, so there is reduction in poverty. Now what's about the negative effects? Neglect to agriculture. Only because of these reasons now India is in need to adopt second green revolution. Urban concentration of growth was high but neglected rural. We have already discussed this point that urbanization is a sign of development, but the new economic policy just focused on the development of urban areas, and the rural areas uh, was totally neglected in new economic policy. Preference for handicrafts was very low. There is cultural erosion in the country, and it is like economic colonization. Earlier, India was a colony of MNC, but now earlier India was a colony of Britain, but now India has become a colony of MNCs, and the result is India has to suffer many economic problems like jobless growth. We will discuss about these issues in our next chapter. So with this, your topic is over. Dear students, please go through the book also. I have covered all the important topics, but if some boxes are left, please revise the topic properly. Dear students, it is very important to keep NCERT book, to use NCERT book as your base. Now is your homework to revise the chapter properly, and please send me your doubts if you have. So dear students, prepare yourself for